Former U.S. President Donald Trump has been indicted by the Justice Department for his efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election results. The indictment focuses on a very turbulent period between Trump losing the election to Joe Biden in November 2020 and the January 6, 2021 Capitol riots. Charges against Trump include conspiracy to defraud the United States government and witness tampering. This indictment marks the third instance of a case brought against the former president in just 4 months. This as he seeks to reclaim the White House. Tunisian President Kais Saied has appointed Ahmed Haqqani as the country's new prime minister. The newly sworn-in prime minister has replaced Najla Bouden. Haqqani's appointment comes amid a deepening economic and social crisis in the country. In recent weeks, the president has repeatedly blamed officials and government. Saied says they must act to address problems and poor public services. This as people across Tunisia are battered by frequent water and electricity outages. Pope Francis met with Portugal's President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa as he arrived in Lisbon earlier today. The meeting comes at the sidelines of Pope's 5-day visit for a gathering of young Catholics known as the World Youth Day. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims marked the start of the world's largest gathering of young Catholics. The faithful flew in from all over the world and waved their national flags at one of Lisbon's main parks. Hymns were played and prayers were said in a build-up to Lisbon Patriarch Manuel Clemente's welcome. A huge billboard denouncing sexual abuse by clergymen was put up in Portugal's Lisbon as the Pope arrived in the capital today. The billboard was unfurled on the Almirante Reis Avenue, one of Lisbon's longest and busiest streets. The event comes less than 6 months after a Portuguese Commission report alleged that at least 4,815 minors were sexually abused by Portuguese clergy. The Commission also claimed that this was just the tip of the iceberg. Pope Francis is in the Portuguese capital for the world's largest gathering of young Catholics. France has begun the evacuation of hundreds of French and European citizens from Niger. This comes a day after neighboring Mali and Burkina Faso said any outside intervention to restore the government will be seen as a declaration of war. 3 aircrafts, including 2 Airbus A330s, left southern France for Niamey's civilian airport to evacuate French citizens. French Foreign Minister Catherine Colonna said that there were 262 people on board the first Airbus, including a dozen babies. The initiative marks the first time that France has staged a large-scale evacuation in its former African colony. The Indian Air Force has rescued a stranded civilian helicopter near the Amarnath Shrine in Jammu and Kashmir. The single-engine helicopter developed a technical snag and ceased to operate. The IAF's 11,500 feet daring high-altitude mission involved an Mi-17 V5 helicopter. The stranded helicopter had caused blockage and disruption at the helipad, which is the final helicopter drop point for the Amarnath Yatra. The Mi-17 helicopter crew managed to airlift the damaged helicopter through a valley surrounded by steep mountains. Belarusian President Alexander Lukashenko taunted Poland over the presence of Russian Wagner mercenaries near the NATO country's border. Lukashenko said that Warsaw should thank him for keeping them in check. Poland has claimed that Belarusian military choppers crossed into its airspace. Meanwhile, Belarusian military has denied Poland's accusation while counter-accusing NATO and Poland of troop build-up at the border. Dozens of young men from West Africa are being forced to take shelter on the sidewalk in front of Manhattan's Roosevelt Hotel. New York City is facing unprecedented number of migrant arrivals since the summer of 2022. More than 90,000 migrants, mainly from Central and South America, have arrived in the Big Apple since April last year. Rehabilitation services are crumbling under pressure. New York's mayor has said the city has no more room for migrants and that authorities will hand out flyers at the US-Mexico border, encouraging them to go elsewhere. Five members of the Chilean Air Force were killed in a helicopter crash on Monday. The accident took place during a night flight drill when the helicopter nosedived towards the ground and crashed. The B-412 aircraft fell on a eucalyptus forest, causing a small fire. The Chilean Air Force issued a statement saying that the cause of the nosedive is under investigation. A 20-year-old Palestinian gunman opened fire in an Israeli settlement east of Jerusalem and wounded 6 people on Tuesday. The gunman was dressed as a security guard in a neon vest and fired shots outside the shopping mall. An off-duty police officer opened fire in response and neutralized the gunman. Islamic militant groups Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad praised the attack as heroic, but did not claim responsibility. Four people, including the daughter of a Super Bowl winning former NFL player, died in 2 separate crashes related to an air show in Wisconsin. The Experimental Aircraft Association said Devin Riley, the daughter of 2-time Super Bowl winner Bruce Collie, and her co-pilot died after their World War II era plane crashed into Lake Winnebago. In a separate incident, a pilot and a passenger died after a helicopter and a gyrocopter collided mid-air over an event runway. One of the aircrafts landed on a parked plane. Russian drones attacked and damaged the port and grain storage facility in Ukraine's Odessa region. Moscow stepped up attacks in Kyiv's agriculture and port infrastructure after refusing to extend the Black Sea grain deal. Russia further warned that ships heading to Ukrainian seaports could be considered military targets after snapping the deal off. No casualties have been reported yet. Taiwan's Vice President William Lai will stop in New York and San Francisco on his way to and from Paraguay. Lai is visiting Paraguay for the inaugural ceremony of its new president. Meanwhile, Beijing has criticized the trip. The country has slammed Lai as a separatist. Meanwhile, Taiwan's President Tsai Ing-wen offered support to Beijing and amid Typhoon Doksuri in the same press conference where the visit was announced. The Turkish military has donated or detonated artillery shells found underwater off a beach on Black Sea's Istanbul coast. As per Turkey's Interior Ministry, Military divers found at least 28 artillery shells in waters off the beach. Istanbul administrator say the shells were old but did not elaborate on the production date or how the shells ended up in the water. Military experts conducted a controlled explosion to destroy the shells. Unabating heavy rain has swollen rivers in South Korea, causing the collapse of a riverbank. Non-San City residents were forced to seek higher ground after Non-San Stream's bank began to crumble. More than 7,800 people have been forced to evacuate in recent days due to flood fears as the situation worsens. The latest disaster comes despite South Korea's vow to step up preparedness against torrential rain. The first of two supermoons in August graced night skies across the world. A supermoon is broadly defined as a full moon that is closer to the Earth than normal. The phenomenon makes it appear slightly brighter and bigger in the sky. From country to country, keen sky gazers diligently captured this Typhoon moon. Rescuers have been working around the clock to help people that are affected by typhoon-induced rainfall in China's Hebei province. Authorities have evacuated over 100,000 people in Zhuozhou city amid heavy flooding. So far, at least 9 people have died while 6 others are missing. Severely flooded roads have stranded an unknown number of residents. A total of 8,755 emergency personnel have been dispatched for search and rescue operations. China's finance ministry announced it would allocate $15 million for rescue work in the region. High winds littered roads with debris in Japan's Okinawa prefecture as Typhoon Khanun nears country's southwest. This is after strong winds and high waves battered the island's coastline. Power lines were also hit, knocking out electricity for more than 200,000 households. The storm has lashed the country amid peak summer tourist season. As a result, tourists visiting Japan have dropped to pre-pandemic levels this year. Cryptocurrency exchange Binance reportedly saw users in China engage in illegal trading of crypto assets worth a staggering $90 billion in a single month, and that's according to Wall Street Journal. These transactions made China Binance's largest market, accounting for 20% of global volume despite being illegal in the country since 2021. Binance, which originated in China but withdrew in 2017 amid regulatory crackdowns, has also faced scrutiny from U.S. regulators with lawsuits and investigations over alleged illegal activities. SoftBank-owned British chip designer Arm Limited is targeting a blockbuster IPO with a valuation between $60 billion and $70 billion in September. The company plans to list its shares on Nasdaq, aiming to raise $8 to $10 billion. Arm's cutting-edge designs are used by major semiconductor giants like Intel, AMD, NVIDIA, and Qualcomm. Advanced Micro Devices, or AMD, predicts a strong finish to the year as it plans to launch its artificial intelligence chips, setting up competition with NVIDIA. The much-anticipated release of the flagship M1 or MI300 AI chips later this year has investors excited, with hopes that it will challenge NVIDIA in the booming AI chip market. The Reserve Bank of India has revealed that 88% of the country's 2,000 rupee currency notes, amounting to a staggering $38.17 billion, have been returned since their withdrawal decision. These high-value notes were introduced in 2016 to replenish the economy after the demonetization move, but the RBI has been striving to reduce their circulation and halted their printing for the past 4 years.